Y'all.
Are we going back to that? Y'all.
Oh, I keep wanting to put my knee up.
Trying to get comfortable for you guys.
Right.
Trying to get comfortable. What it is, you guys, welcome to the SLC Sit Down Podcast. I am your host, Kiki Furia.
And I'm Kat Umano.
What it is, what it do. We are on tons of social media platforms. You can find us at Twitter, Facebook, our YouTube channel. And Kat, where can they email us?
slcsitdownpodcast@gmail.com.
Gotta love the Gmail. Gotta love it. And really quick, just some quick little shout outs to Crack Brain podcast with Stefan. He's fantastic. Geek Show.
I was just on Geek Show.
Isn't it fun? Isn't it fun?
It is
It's
fun.
just like, those guys are fantastic. Incredible Vocal Minority podcast with Jay. Shout out to Jay. Big Shiny Robot. And of course, the Watchtower Cafe.
And of course, you can find us on our social media. You can find me at Kat Umano, CATUMANO.
And you can find me, Kiki Furia, Furia, that's Furia, and tons of social media platforms as well. The huge Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Follow us, like us, subscribe.
Yeah, talk to us. We want to hear from you.
So, we're on episode 6. Damn.
These are like rolling.
I know.
Tina Turner style.
So, today we are talking about just life changes, going after your goals, taking risks, just when you make a shift in your life and, you know, the events leading up to it, the event itself, and then kind of the results afterwards, because it's, you know, it can be everyone has their own individual experience, but it can be a very scary, depressing time.
Yeah, no, totally.
So-
I'm really excited about this topic. When you had shared that we should probably have this as a topic, I just was like, yo, this is huge. Because, I mean, I think at some point in anyone's life, it could be big, it could be small, you're going through some sort of change. And
Right.
so if you don't really know how to cope with that, deal with that internally, it can be a really nasty situation. So.
Right. And it can be, I mean, it doesn't have to be something extreme. You know, it can just be like moving away to college for the first time,
Right.
changing jobs. I mean, and then some people, like I moved, this is my 4th state that I've lived in. You know, I've moved around a lot, I've changed jobs a lot, I've kind of shifted career paths and plans a lot. And so this is something that, yeah, I definitely relate to.
Yeah.
So-
I think both of us sharing a little bit of our stories today hopefully will inspire somebody, you know, make them feel, whether you're in that situation right now, something similar to what me and Kat are going to share. And we got some great resources and some information and tips and tricks for you guys today too. So, yeah, hopefully we can help y'all out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, let's talk about the first thing. We kind of like broke this out into 3 little parts here. So, the first item in this topic is just looking at like taking the risk and chasing your dreams. Like, Kat, tell us your story on just taking a risk, or if you ever what it's the most extreme thing you did to chase a dream.
In a nutshell, I mean, like I said, I've moved around a lot. I grew up in Massachusetts. I went to school for theater in New York. I ended up going back to Massachusetts. And then from there, I was working a really good job. I had my own apartment. I was completely, financially self-sufficient, barely had any debt, was just in a really good place, but I hated my job. Hated it, was miserable. And so I decided to just drop all of that and pack up my car and move to Atlanta, Georgia, and start working in a ballroom dance studio and try to become a ballroom dancer. And that was terrifying because I did not know a soul in Atlanta. I knew...
But it's ATL.
It is, and I loved Atlanta, actually. But yeah, that was terrifying. And even then, I spent about a year there, and it just wasn't really panning out the way that I wanted to, and I wanted to get some more training, so I ended up coming out to Utah, which, as some people know, is kind of the mecca of ballroom dancing, and decided to go back to school.
Really?
And
Is it? That's
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah,
didn't know
well,
that.
I mean, more Utah County, not so much Salt Lake, but
That's cool.
yeah, what up, Provo and Orem. And so, yeah, just kind of dropping all of that, all the new friends that I had made, pretty good career going at the studio to go back to being a broke college student at 25 in Utah among the Mormons. No hate towards the Mormons, just I'm very not. So, yeah, I know. Yeah, it was terrifying and exciting, but I just was like, it's now or never. Might as well. So, yeah.
I can't really. I mean, I guess this is a risk. That's a huge risk compared to your story. I think there was more of a risk there for you necessarily than there was for me. But I think again, just dealing with change is crazy, and so for me it was kind of risky. So I'm from California. And I just graduated from Fresno State, and I was looking for work. And I knew I didn't want to stay in my hometown, but I didn't know where the hell I was going to go either. And so at the time, I had a boyfriend here or whatever. They were like, come to Utah. Say, what? Why would I ever go to Utah?
I thought the same thing.
Right?
And yet,
we're both here.
here we are.
But yeah, it was so weird to me. And like, it was a risk. Like, I'm going to a state I've never been. I know nothing about this area. I'm very much, we're very much big time planners.
Oh, yeah.
And so had to make sure all the things, I's were dotted, T's were crossed and whatnot.
Yeah, that was what was terrifying for me coming out to Utah, because at least in Atlanta, I had a job set up.
Right.
I had an apartment. Like, I made another trip down there to find a place to live. I did find an apartment here, which I had never seen before, and I was just like, hope it's good. But I had no job. I was just trying to, and I jumped around jobs trying to find something, and I was waiting tables, and so that was just terrifying to be like, gonna make money eventually, somehow.
Right, yeah. And see,
So-
I had a job lined up before I moved here. And so when I moved here, I started my job like within the first week of me moving here.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't have a place to live, and so I did
Ooh.
live with my boyfriend at the time and his family, who are totally amazing people and gracious. That's another story for another time. But yeah, they were amazing, and so I stayed with them for 4 months, and then I saved enough money to just move out on my own. So in a lot of ways, it was a risk, and some things didn't work out, like after the move here and after those 4 months, and it was a total huge transition. Because I had no friends or family here. You know, my whole support system was in California, craziest thing ever. So I would say in that small aspect, it was just, I feel like I guess the taking the risk was making the decision, not knowing the outcome, right?
Yeah,
Besides
exactly.
the idea that I knew I had a job, so I knew money was coming, but yeah, like I didn't know anything else of what was gonna come. What's this area like? Where am I gonna live? Is it a bad area? Am I going back to the ghetto? I don't know.
And that's the thing is, sometimes you have kind of the first stages of a plan, and then after that, it's like,
Right.
I don't know. Because that was my thing with, going to BYU. Hey, I went to BYU. And it was like, afterwards, then what? I'm like, I don't know. Find that out when I get there. And I mean, I only ended up staying there about a year and a half because it just wasn't the right fit. But yeah, sometimes you only have just part of the plan, which can be terrifying. So,
And I guess my story is a little bit more that one's a little bit more of a serious risk, because again, we're talking about someone's livelihood, right? Both
Right.
of our situations. The more fun, lighthearted risk was the time that I decided to go audition for So You Think You Can Dance. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Love the show, love to dance, gonna go do it. Probably not gonna make it. I don't know. What if I do? Who knows?
Yeah.
Literally, I had no idea what I was doing, but it was just like, I have to do this.
Right.
And that was so crazy. And my mom was very worried about me, actually.
Yeah.
She was like,
that's it. Like, you think it's just an audition, but something like that it's a lot. It's a big deal.
it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I was like, this is the show. Like, if I make it, like, my world's about to be turned upside down.
Right.
Like, it was insane to even think about that.
And I just totally lost my train of thought. It's cool. It's fine. It happens.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one was a more lighthearted risk. It was just a what the hell kind of fluke thing, but it's still a risk no matter what you're doing.
Got it. It's back. So
Gotcha.
as far as the mindset when deciding to take that risk and take that chance, because that's, I feel like the biggest hurdle is just deciding to do it, because
Right.
everyone can sit around and saying, oh, I wish I could do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. But actually taking that action to do it
Right.
What do you think was kind of your, like, lit the fire under your ass to finally do it? Or kind of gives you the courage to just say fuck it and go with it?
First of all, I like that you said lit the fire under my ass. Kiki Furia here. Anyway. For me in that moment, I think it was literally, I mean, and again, this is just for me for that moment in time. I loved that show so much. Dance was such a huge part of my life that it was just purely the passion, I guess. And, well, here, let me rewind. I think it was the passion for sure, and it was the curiosity. Like,
Yeah.
it was that moment of, hey, if I don't do this now, I probably am never going to do it. Like we were saying yesterday, how you were like, 80-something-year-old me is probably going to sing shoulda, coulda, wouldas if I'm not careful.
Right.
You know? And so whether I make it or not, I can sit here now at 32, 31, turning 32 later.
I know, you get to the point where you don't even know how old you are. It's
I know,
great.
it's crazy. It's been a hell of a day, guys. Yeah, like, I don't want to be singing my shoulda, coulda, wouldas. And so sitting here
Right.
at 31, I can at least say, like, hey, you know what? I did that. Like, you know what I mean? And no matter what the result was, it was cool to take that chance and to take that risk, and because the opportunity presented itself.
Right, and like we were talking about yesterday, we have meetings. So yesterday in our meeting, our pre-episode meeting, I talked about how kind of my mindset when it comes to, these big changes and big decisions is, I think about if I were, if I had an autobiography and I was kind of reading my life story as like someone else reading my life story, how I would feel about the decisions that I made and the path that I take. Because everyone has, read a story where they're like, no, are you doing this? You should have. And kind of my reaction to that and how I would feel being the reader with whatever path I chose. So, and it's hard and it's scary, but
Yeah.
yeah. So let's talk about that though. What about let's talk about actually dealing with the change and, those transitions, whether it be, successful or difficult or, things like that, because it doesn't always pan out exactly the way we want. I know that for
As
sure.
hell don't. That is and that's hard. And I love that we're talking about how you deal with it, because, side note, guys, me and Kat have the same birthday.
Yes. October 29th.
That is, yes, October 29th. It is kind of freaky, Twilight Zone-y, and literally me and Kat sometimes, I think just the way we operate, like, we are literally the same. It's kind of funny. We both love dance, we're super organized and planners, and we dream big. It's fantastic. And so I wonder if this is the same for you and how you look at stuff, because I feel like sometimes I'm a control freak.
Yup.
Okay. On the same page, as always,
Yup.
guys. Yeah, I am such a control freak sometimes. I really try to ease back on that. And so when things don't work out the way I had originally intended them to work out, my plans or whatever, it really is a shot to the gut for me.
Yeah.
And I'm just
Same.
like, what the hell? How stupid was I? Like, how could I miss that? Or maybe I didn't do this hard enough. And then comes all the self-doubt, and then you just sink into the sunken place. And it's just
Whoa.
like,
Whoa.
that's what it's like for me. I'm like, I'm in the sunken place. I'm just gonna be numb here forever. Like, it's awful.
Well, especially when you really have your heart set on something and you have a really well thought out plan, and some people are lucky to have a support system, which definitely helps, but at the same time, we were talking about this yesterday, sometimes it can actually make those, quote unquote failures or, obstacles a little bit more difficult, because you feel like you have this like fan club or kind of this audience watching you, back home or on Facebook. That's how I always felt when I was trying to figure stuff out, is I was like, what are they going to say? They thought, they were all rooting for me, and I let them down, and, they're going to be disappointed, or, say I told you so. And so I feel like that's the pro and con of having a support system, is you have people to support you and to, kind of keep you grounded, and but at the same time, you almost feel like sometimes you're letting them down.
Yeah. And for me, it was very much a more aggressive standpoint of like when I moved here and, the things didn't work out. I still had my job and I ended up finding a place to live and whatnot. Um, Being here by myself, though, I wasn't sure if I could handle it, And
Yeah.
so I was just like, should I go back home? But then immediately when I had that thought, I was like, I do not want to give some people back home the satisfaction of them like, oh, it didn't work out the way she planned. She should totally just come back home anyway. And I'm just like, what the hell? Like,
Yeah.
where's the faith, man? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, and that actually was enough of a fire to keep me here. That like, I can do this. Like, it's gonna be tough. It's a weird transition. I've never experienced this before. All I knew was California. First time living out of state, but I was like, I would rather just tough it out than to go back home and give those people the
Right.
satisfaction.
On the flip side of that, though, is because I dealt with this a lot when I was at BYU, because I had debated whether or not I should leave or try to stick it out or whatever, and I debated over that for about a year, and I had that same oh, I don't want to disappoint people, I don't want to look like a failure, blah blah blah, but at the same time I eventually decided to I ended up just kind of migrating up to Salt Lake, so I didn't completely just like bail and move home. But I also I didn't want to, like you said, kind of tough it out just because I wanted to prove a point.
Right.
Because I knew that this wasn't my destiny, this wasn't where I was supposed to be. And, it's nothing against the school. I still had a great experience. It was just long term, not where I needed to be. And, I still would have had a few years left to finish my degree, and I was like, eh. So, and it's hard sometimes to, you meet some resistance or, you have people who are like, oh, just tough it out, and they want you to stick with something, but having the courage to walk away from something that isn't right. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
But, yeah, sometimes,
no, it's very true.
and you have to, remind yourself that, of course, you want to take other people into consideration, especially your family and the people close to you, but it's your life. Just you. You only get one.
That's right.
You got to make the most of it, and you can't navigate your life and, base your decisions off of someone else and trying to please someone else.
I know that's right. Hallelujah. But yeah, like, and with that, but like with that,
On the flip side.
On the flip. So I wanted to share a quote too that I got from Brainy Quotes. Lots of great quotes out there. I'm a quote girl. I love just hearing little things that people say, and it's just like very eye-opening sometimes. And sometimes when you hear them, it's almost like you needed to hear that at that point in time, And so I'm a
Like
big
that
believer
with
in that.
memes. No, I'm just kidding.
Memes.
The SpongeBob meme really spoke to my soul.
Sometimes that shit gets you. Pulls at my heartstrings. I'm like, SpongeBob knows where it's at. Yeah, and so, at I got this from Brainy Quotes, if you were wondering where, and I can always send out this link later and whatnot. In aligning with what you were saying, Kat, with people and the outside and how they're looking at your situation and whatnot. And so this one says, believing in yourself and what you do is so important. It took me a long time to find that confidence. If you're an artist and you're taking risks, then you're doing something right if some people don't get it.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool because, again, like you were saying, it's not about them. It's your life. You only get one. If they don't get it, probably a good thing because you're focusing internally on you and what's going to make you happy, what's going to push you for success, so on and so forth.
And that's the thing is some people just aren't going to get it, and some people, and that may be because maybe they, don't have that in them to go after what they want, or
Exactly.
sometimes, people are just in, and I'm not saying that everyone has to drop everything that they're doing and go and try to become, I don't know,
Right.
whatever your dream is. There's absolutely nothing wrong with, settling down, having a 9-to-5, having a family,
No.
nothing wrong with that. So you don't have to, drop everything and move to a new city and, try to Beyonce like you think you can dance. But,
Right.
but sometimes it, just that difference, whether it's fear or just a difference in preference of lifestyle can make it very difficult for people to understand that when you do kind of decide to take that risk and
Right.
chase your goal.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And
Well-
I think looking at vulnerability, like to be, like you were saying, there's nothing wrong with the stable life, so to say, and whatnot. But I think if you're really self-reflecting and evaluating yourself on really what is making you happy, like I always kind of think about like those movies where it's the person who is almost like on the routine every day of their life, that you could tell it's sucking the life out of them. Like you were saying, like you had the perfect job, you were all this stuff, but you knew you were unhappy.
Yep.
That's when you have to make some decisions, I think. Because, again, you only got one. If you got a chance to be happy, you should probably try and go for it.
Right. And I always told myself that, because yeah, I ended up both in Georgia and here, and still now, hey, I'm going to get real, where I've been in some tough situations as far as, you know, where to live and money. You know, there was a point where my roommate ended up being a weirdo and I had to move out and I didn't have any place to go.
Oh, wow.
And I've had times where you get that email where, hey, your account has reached $0. Yeah.
Should've
And
bought
things
that damn
come
Taco
up.
Bell.
Yeah. and it's terrifying, but at the same time, I always would take a step back and be like, you know what? I might be broke right now,
Right.
but day to day I'm so much happier than if I was back home and you know, I had a great savings account. I had a fucking 401k, but I was miserable. So I'd much rather be poor and happy than rich and miserable.
Hello.
Not that I'll ever be rich,
Hallelujah
but
again. Yep.
so,
Getting too real on here.
right?
It's pulling at my heartstrings.
So, I guess let's go into not the first word that came to my mind was like the aftermath, as if it's this massacre. Sometimes it is. But yeah, sometimes either once you've kind of gotten through the thick of it, or sometimes when, you know, you're facing what seems like failure, or, you know, plan A didn't quite work out, how to kind of recover from that and move on from that, because that's tough.
Right. Right. And regret is, I have such a problem with the word regret. Like, personally, I never want to say I have regrets, even though that's the term, right? But like, I don't know, I just have looked at it now with some of the risks that I've taken in my life of, you know what, some things didn't work out, and yeah, if I literally had a DeLorean and I could go back in time, I probably would change some of that, but I don't. So why am I going to waste my energy thinking about what I can't change? I've already made those decisions. This is the path that maybe those decisions has put me on. I got to mow through and keep moving forward. So I don't want to live in the past, and I don't want to regret, even though, again, by definition, they would technically be regrets because you want to go back and change them. And if I'd only been smarter, if I'd only made this choice instead, whatever. But that's, you can't do that. So why regret? And it took me a long time to actually be okay with that, being the whole control freak that I am. But I actually sit pretty well with it now.
Yeah, it's impossible to not think back and, you know, want to change this and, you know, tweak that, because you're like, oh, well, this could have been this and this and this. And first of all, it's such a waste of energy because you can't go back and change anything.
No.
But also, one thing that I realized, and it's hard to accept sometimes, and sometimes it really doesn't settle in until after the fact, is I've realized that, yeah, sometimes I've, you know, had really shitty experiences or bad relationships or, you know, just whatever happening, but I kind of needed that to happen in order to get me to
Right.
something else.
Because it's all about growth.
Right, because, you know, I had a bad relationship that, yeah, I look back and I'm like, oh my God, why? Why was I with him? But I needed that to, you know, change some aspects of my, you know, just my habits and kind of my character, you know, help me kind of grow a backbone and stand up for myself. And, you know, I thought my world was crashing down when I was in Georgia and it wasn't working out the way I wanted to. I was like, I moved my entire life. I left my whole family. I left all of this behind and it's not working. But that led me to Utah, and it everything led me to the next thing. And even though at the moment it seemed like I said, the entire world was crashing down and I was just a huge failure, I needed that to kind of get me to the next step. So,
girl, if we're gonna talk about taking risks when it comes to dating, I got some stories for your ass.
oh yeah, we're gonna have a dating episode. Don't worry. And if you have specifics, not that we're the masters, but
No.
but there's plenty to talk about. So yeah, if you
Sure
have
is.
suggestions for dating episode, yeah, lay them on us.
Yeah, reach out.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, but even in that term, again, there's risk in everything. There's risk in everything. And so I guess on the flip side, because this could have been when we were talking about taking a risk and like what attracts us to that, but I think it still can apply to like thinking about the outcomes, right? About, what is the outcome first before you even start the planning, right?
Right.
And so, like, going back to my brainy quotes over here, like, I loved these two quotes here talking. One is about that there's something attractive about taking risk, and again, that's going to be the whole personal aspect of it, right? And then two, the other one is, I don't think there's any story worth dying for, but I do think there are stories worth taking risk for. And that's the thing. You're writing your own story, people. Like, me and Kat are sharing our story, right? And I'm sure some of you guys are just like, wow, like, I would have never thought they would have done that. Or, wow, she, said that she grew from this, and that's the key, is that these are our stories and you have your story. And we're constantly growing by taking these risks. Yes, they're scary as all hell. And some of them are nightmares. Some of them are the best dream and success that you could ever, dream of. That's part of life. You never know. Forrest Gump, you never know what you're going to get. Them damn chocolates. So, I mean, you never know, but
Right.
you can't just sit in one spot the rest of your life either.
Right. Well, and it goes back to what you said earlier, and also what we talked about yesterday is, along with my whole autobiography mindset is also, me as like an 80-something-year-old, kind of looking back at my life and my youth and the choices that I made. And I always tell myself that I would rather try something and fall flat on my face and be like, well, that didn't work out, but I tried, than be, sitting in my rocker as an 85-year-old saying, I wish I would have gone for it. What would have happened if I had given it a try?
Right.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
It's so true. It's so true. So I have another thing, and I wanted to leave this to you guys. Kat really liked this too, and it totally, I think, summed up a lot of what we were exactly feeling in both of our stories and our situations. And you can find this on the HuffPost. I can also share this link out if you're curious to read the article. It was a really good article.
Writer must have been a Scorpio.
And so, yeah, you got me with that one. It's the HuffPost. I can share the link out, and the article is called "The 7 Things You Need to Know to Deal with Major Life Changes." So let's break it down. 7 things. 1, it's okay to be emotional. Right?
Men too.
Yeah, I mean,
You
it's
can do
okay
it. It's
to
allowed.
be emotional. You can't just go up in there like you are Hercules and nothing ain't gonna hurt you.
Okay, I'm 26, about to turn 27. I know I'm still very young, but you don't know how many times I was on the phone crying to my mom back
Hello.
home.
Hello.
Yup, even as an adult, and I'm sure there are women in their 30s and maybe 40s that do that too.
I'm 31. I was like, Mom, I hate everything.
Yeah. Mom, come pick me up.
And again, like, and that's actually a great just part of looking at our stories, how young you were and how mine was like
And how
later.
old you? No, I'm just kidding.
Hey,
I'm just kidding.
black and berry, sweeter juice.
I'm totally kidding.
No. And so, but no, like, from your standpoint and what that was like, and from my standpoint, us being, again, different age group, but like, still, we were emotional. We didn't know how to deal with that.
Yeah,
we're both called our moms.
Yeah, and that's the thing though is, and everyone's a little bit different, but I feel like that's, like they say there, that's just part of it. It's just you're going to get emotional and, especially when it's something that you're very passionate about and that you put so much time and effort into, you can't help but get emotional about it.
Yeah, Total, 100%, 100%. So that was one. Two, you can give yourself permission to be vulnerable. And we talked a little bit about that. Again, like, let yourself open up. I can't tell you, and again, this is more in reference to a different topic, but don't be closed off to change. Don't be closed off to taking the risk sometimes, because you'll just end up having this resentment in yourself. Again, like,
Yeah.
that I'm not opening up myself up to any types of change. I'm just going to do the same thing over and over. I'm not a robot. Like, so it's okay to give yourself that permission. Number three, you are never alone. And you're not. Got two girls right here.
Hey.
Same stuff. So you're not alone. And again, I think it's huge to have a support system of some kind, whether it be from, like, in our case, like moving somewhere else and having to call our support group back home. But then it ended up, and I'm sure you are experiencing this too, and it was this way for me, that I have never been so amazed and thankful to God that I ended up creating a support system here of people I don't even fucking know. Like, I've never seen you guys before.
Well, and that's the thing, is it can be terrifying, but sometimes when you reach out because you just need to, people will come through.
Yeah, and I'm just like, what? Like, I didn't know you 3 months ago, and you're here offering me money, or where do you need to crash, or can I can give you a ride every day until you get your car. Like, what?
Well, I mean, even, and not to get, dark and sad, but a couple weeks ago, Anthony Bourdain, there was, a lot of posts about, suicide and things like that, and I always made a point when something like that happened, and then just even every once in a while to make a post saying, regardless of our relationship, regardless of how well you know me, if you need to talk, if you need support, I will be there. Because like I said, it might be someone who I met once at a party or whatever, but I'm like, if someone needs it, like I said, people will step up. So
there are good people out there, you guys. There are good people. The world isn't complete shit just yet.
Oh, you had to put in just yet.
Sometimes I wonder, but there are good people out there.
Stop reading the news. Just don't. Just don't.
So yeah, you were never alone. That was 3. Number 4, you have to ask for help. So I think we just covered that. You have to ask for help, and that is very hard, again, for people who are controlling.
But it's okay.
But it's okay, and it can be learned. Like, it really can. You have to just, again, self-reflect and go back, because I know I'm horrible at asking for help. But I can't count how many times my friends have always come through, even with the most smallest thing. And they're just like, Kira, do you need this? Just ask. And I'm like, damn it. And I do. And they laugh and they help me. And so it's great. So that was 4. 5, you can adapt to anything. That is always a surprise to me, which, if anything, totally hypes me up, not gonna lie. I feel like how you always say, I can lift a tank.
And I said that on 2 episodes.
Right, but it's so true.
I
mean, to know that I am adaptable, even though you know who you are, you're stuck in your ways, you know what works, but then you're stuck in a situation where you're like, holy shit, I don't know what to do with this, but somehow you end up being okay.
And also, and there are extremes, but I also feel like learning to adapt is a huge skill to have.
True.
I mean, not that I lived anywhere very extreme. I'd probably say that Utah was the most, but I went from, being a theater kid in very liberal, Boston, Massachusetts, and then I moved down to Georgia, and I was like, oh, I gotta learn how to be around Southern people, and you'd be amazed how there were some points where I was like, we are very different people.
All right.
And then moving to Utah, where I had to suddenly dress modestly and follow this honor code and not drink and not swear and not do basically all of my favorite things.
That was me.
But
we are very different people.
But I adapted and you figure it out, and I'm always grateful for, since I moved around a lot and had experiences with a lot of different people, it helped me learn how to deal with different people, because you're never going to always be around people who always agree with you and will always support you. Right. So I feel like it's a really valuable thing to learn how to adapt.
Yeah, very true. 100%. So that was number 5. Number 6, you have to have hope for the future. That is also sometimes a really hard thing, because, like you were saying earlier, the sky is falling. There is no hope. Obi-Wan Kenobi is not coming today. Like, it is hard to just think about being positive for the future in your situation of what's going to come, And I guess with that, for me, I think you can have a hope if you're just thinking simplistically, like, there's just a hope. But sometimes I feel like it's just better to focus on the present. That, like, what I do now, right here in this moment, is going to help for my future.
Yep.
And instead of just putting all my stress and worry, well, it's got to be like this 6 months from now. It has to. You're not even paying attention to what you're doing right now to help you in 6 months, you know? So have the hope that it'll work out. But let me pay attention to this right now.
Yeah, and be realistic with goals and with expectations, because of course we all want to get it figured out tomorrow. We all want to get it figured out tomorrow, but it's much more satisfying and kind of comforting when you give yourself kind of a smaller goal, a smaller short-term goal that if you're just like, hey, I'm gonna go to a dance class on Saturday. Very, very easy to attain, and you feel very accomplished afterwards, rather than, I'm going to be, working at a studio, or I'm going to be a feature in ABT, like, I don't know.
Right.
So just start small, especially when you feel like you're starting over and you're kind of picking yourself back up again.
Yeah, make sure they're SMART goals, people.
Yes.
The SMART goal model still applies.
Uh-huh.
And lastly, number 7, you will grow as a person, but you are still the same. And I like that. That, again, like we were saying earlier, these risks and stories that we just shared, we are not the same people that we were 2 years ago. You know what I mean? And so, but we're still Kat and Kiki. We're still here, stronger than ever. Still have some rough things to get through.
We just got the newest Apple update, that's all.
I like that.
Happened at 2 a.m.
Boom.
Boom.
Deal with it.
New emojis.
Specifically, the shit emoji, because I don't give a shit these days. I just do what I do. But yeah, great article. Like I said, those were the 7 things on how to deal with major life changes. If it helps you out, apply them. Take a look. It's pretty good. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and also, feel free to, we say this every time, but feel free to, not only give us feedback about our episodes, but share. We want to hear from you. We want to hear about your experiences. Even if you just, that's part of the reason why we have the email account. If you don't want, your comment or your tweet to be out there on the interwebs, and you want to connect with us a little bit more privately, just reach out. We're cool.
Yeah.
But we want to hear from you. We want to, hear about your experiences and, have that dialogue and share with you.
I'm not no Dr. Paul White, and he's fantastic.
He is.
But we got your back.
We know some stuff.
Some stuff. And Dr. Paul will give it to you straight, but we will too. So
I love him.
Shout out to Dr.
And
Paul.
his My Little Pony headphones.
I know.
Right.
He's just fantastic. Alrighty. Time for last minute advices, yeah?
Yeah.
What you got, Kat? Lay it on him.
Oof. I would say, and this is kind of repeating what I've already said, but just these are the biggest things to emphasize. Like, if I had to give someone drive-by advice, is, it's your life. Don't let the fear of either disappointing other people or pleasing other people determine your path and your decisions, because it's very easy to, like I said, when I was leaving school, I knew that people would be like, well, why? Because it's not right. It's not what's right for me. And it's very difficult for people to accept that sometimes. But again, it's your life. You got to do you, and you got to do what's best for you, because at the end of the day, even though you may have a great support system of family and friends, you're still, at the end of the day, all you have. And then again, trying to, look back and take those negative experiences and realize that they do help you get to your next chapter. So even though in the moment it seems like the end of the world, just try to keep in mind that something is going to come out of it.
Amen.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. Go, Kiki.
Straight up, my advice would, for one, and this is huge for me, don't let fear win. Straight up. Don't let fear win. If you are fearful about some of the changes that you're going through, just for the sake of, again, fear, because you don't know what's going to happen, guess what? You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know what's going to happen an hour from now.
I don't know what I'm having for dinner tonight.
Hello. And this is my mom preaching, actually. But, like, yeah, you don't know what's going to happen an hour from now. Like, don't be so fearful. And, again, I'm preaching to the choir. My own damn self, I should be looking in the mirror, because sometimes I just am a fearful person. But once you kind of swallow that fear and just go for it, you feel incredible afterwards. And so that's one piece, is don't let fear win. The other piece of it, and this is just my own little quote that I wanted to share, that taking risks doesn't mean you get the prize at the end of the day. Yes, there is always luck or being in the right place at the right time. To me, taking risks means an experience. Could be good, could be bad. You would never have learned if you didn't try, and I bet that you learned something, and we should be learning something every day.
Did you write that while you were in your Domino cosplay?
No, but
It applies.
in my head,
In my
yes.
head.
I try to be all
Lady.
philosophical and shit sometimes. But yeah, that's my thing. That, yeah, just try things, guys. Sometimes it's more about the experience. And life is nothing but experiences. And again, like I said, whether it's good, whether it's bad, you get to live. So there you go.
Okay, we have questions, and I'm excited about it. Okay,
Yay, yeah,
so
thank
it's
you.
only 2, but still.
Yeah.
And also, if you do have questions, feel free, even if they're not related to the episode topic at all, still feel free.
Yep.
Because we want to hear from you. Okay, so good old Dr. White asks, what keeps you motivated when you come across barriers to your goals? Is there something that first was not working out, but you continued, that now is an accomplishment or one in the making? So what keeps you motivated when something's getting in the way of your goals?
For me, sometimes I like a challenge. It depends on
Yeah.
what it is. Like, I almost just like the same idea like I was saying earlier about not letting fear win. I don't like things having power over me. Even myself sometimes. I'm thinking no, like, and so sometimes it's just a challenge. And so to know that, okay, this didn't work out. Now I gotta, put my thinking cap back on and just think about, what if I look at this from a different angle? If I still want that desired outcome, I gotta try something else. I gotta redirect, you know what I mean? And so, I guess, yeah, just the idea of, this is a challenge for me. I really want this. I'm gonna keep trying for it. Once I have exhausted all options or ideas that I've put into it, then that's when I will probably be like, all right, it probably wasn't meant to be,
Yeah. I feel like for me, and this is actually part of the reason why I ended up doing a lot of things by myself. Like I would go to the movies by myself, I'd go to dinner by myself, things like that, is I was so tired of other people dictating what I was going to do and my plans. We'd plan to go to a movie and that person would bail, and then I'm like, well, crap, now I can't go see this movie. And it's like, no, that person shouldn't dictate what I'm going to do and what I'm not going to do. And so I feel like, I mean, it also depends on kind of the obstacle, but sometimes when someone or something tries to get in my way, I'm like, the hell you are? Like, no, this is on my list. It's gonna get done. What, like, yeah, get the fuck out of my way. So I'm just like, if it's on the to-do list, it will get done. So, yeah.
Great question, Paul. Thank you.
Yeah. And then we also had a question from Twitter. And it is, you both mentioned that you dance. When did you both start dancing, and what's your favorite style of dance? That's from Monica. Hi, Monica.
Hi, Monica. She's so sweet. I love her.
Right?
For me, long story short, literally my dance, like my passion for dance started with the old school movie Breakin'. No lie. Ozone and Turbo, yo. I don't even know how old I was. I was so young. And like my mom had it on beta, again, had it on beta. And I fell in love. I was just like, I need to do that, whatever that is. And I would like, my mom said that I would like get up and try to like start dancing like them and all this stuff. And then I just always loved performing. My mom tried to put me in like community classes, anything like that. Because at the end of the day, no offense to studios and stuff, but they are expensive. And
Yep.
My mom did not have the money to put me in those studios and whatnot. So if there was a community thing that was at like your rec center or whatever, I tried to do it. But it was just kind of hard with other life transitions that happened in my life and whatnot. So I didn't get back into dance till high school, just teaching myself from watching my old school Missy Elliott videos. Hey. And all of that, and so I just taught myself, and I'd go to every high school dance I could. Like, I never missed one. I would go to one sick. Like, I never missed one. And then, then I got into junior college and took more training and technique classes in junior college, and then I did a lot of performance through the community college, and then I joined local community dance crews where we just did performances and comp, and so that's kind of my dance life story in a nutshell, and I just love doing it. And I guess my favorite styles are definitely hip-hop, preferably popping and locking, and I do love modern, I do love jazz, and I do love tap.
Cool. I started when I was 3. My mom just put me in dance. I didn't really have a say in it, but that's just, I don't remember ever not dancing, so that was just my life. I think our neighbor was also putting her daughter in dance, so that's why I ended up in dance. I don't know. But I did everything growing up. I did ballet, tap, jazz, modern, point, and I was also in musical theater, so I did, kind of the musical theater style. And that was my entire life other than doing shows. So I was, living at the studio doing 5 or 6 classes a week. And then ballroom, I didn't start until about 4 years ago. And that was mostly because I'd always wanted to do it, but it wasn't as accessible back in Massachusetts. So that was more of a struggle to get into and get training for, which is how I ended up in Utah. So I definitely love ballroom, all styles of ballroom. I competed Latin, standard, and smooth. And I love it and I miss it and I'm trying to get back into it. But I also really love jazz and tap. Like, I was always a jazz theater Fosse girl at heart, so
We should do a tap dance together.
we should, except my tap shoes are broken. My tap fell off during a class at Millennium, so I taped it on with like Scotch tape. Yeah, it was great.
Go.
But I made it through class.
We'll just tap
Anyway.
for the podcast and they'll just hear all this tapping in the background. I'm just saying.
I know, I need new tap shoes.
I feel like
I started GoFundMe so I can get tap shoes.
And I feel like our dance stories are literally movies. Like, yours sounds like Shall We Dance or Center Stage, and mine's like You Got Served. I don't know. So funny. But dance is fantastic. I say, you guys, if you're sometimes stressed out, speaking of like life changes and stuff, just do something artsy. Go dance, usually. I feel so much better after I dance.
Yeah, and even
sometimes.
if you just like put on your guilty pleasure song and you like dance around while you're folding laundry, it's just such a great mood booster. So and who worries about, don't worry about how you look and just move around to music.
Start
and
twerking in your
also,
living room.
also, shameless plug, Kiki and I both teach. So
Hey.
Kiki teaches hip hop. I teach mostly jazz and tap as far as kind of more standard styles, but I do teach ballroom and I also do wedding lessons. So if you're tying the knot soon and you want some guidance, so you don't feel uncomfortable on the floor, hit me up.
Yep.
Yeah,
Hit
both
us
of
both
us.
up.
So
We'd love to come out and stuff, and I think we've talked about collabing together on some stuff too. I
yeah,
think that'd be
so
fun.
let us know. Couple events and then we'll get out of here. Again, Salt Lake Gaming Con, that is July 6th and 7th. That's at the Mountain America Expo Center. And also, special little offer for our listeners, since we love you guys.
Da-da-da-da.
We got a coupon that'll get you 30% off. The coupon code is SITDOWN, SITDOWN. Again, that'll get you 30% off at the Gaming Con. That expires July 1st. It's active on their website right now, so go get it.
Yeah. You're welcome.
You're welcome. So do that because we'll both be there.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm working on cosplays now. You guys, it's going to be fun. This gaming con's going to be fantastic. So please, please go. And then the other event that we have is the African Festival 2018. That's Saturday, July 28th from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. At Liberty Park. And that is looking fantastic. I've never been, and I'm so excited because you best believe I'm walking around saying Wakanda forever. Just saying. But I'm really excited to go to this festival. It looks fantastic. You can find the event on Facebook as well if you want more information.
Cool. All right. Well, that is everything we have. Like I said, if you have feedback or you want to just kind of share your own story or thoughts, please tweet us, comment on Facebook, email us, hit us up on our individual social media. We love hearing from you guys. We love the feedback. We're at 5 stars on iTunes. Hey. So, which we appreciate so much.
Yes, thank you guys.
Yeah, the feedback helps us a lot. And yeah, we really just appreciate all the love. So
And
that'll
me and
do
Kat
it for...
basically talk on an everyday basis. So
Yep. So, yeah, we really appreciate you guys. We love doing this podcast, and we'll see you next Woke Wednesday.
See ya. Stay woke, y'all. Be safe out there. Peace.